The galaxy had always been a place of careful balance. Countless civilizations thrived in clusters of stars, each holding its own territory, each wary of the other. Wars were rare, but the fear of war was constant. Borders were respected, agreements were signed, and silence was often the safest way to survive. Yet, at the edge of the galaxy, a new rumor began to spread, a whisper that made even the boldest species shiver. There was a species no one dared confront, a species that moved with purpose, with strength, and with a will that could not be broken. That species was humanity. In the Andari cluster, Commander Viel stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the holographic map of human space. The stars shimmered like frozen fire, and the dark void between them felt alive with secrets. His crew worked quietly, adjusting sensors, monitoring signals, and preparing reports. But Viel felt something deeper, something he could not name. His instincts, honed through decades of service, warned him that humans were not like other species. They were unpredictable, they were dangerous, and they were growing. "Commander," said Lieutenant Vea, her voice a soft hum against the bridge's mechanical heartbeat, "we are not detecting hostile activity in the sector." Viel nodded, but he did not relax. "I know," he said, "and that is exactly why we must be careful. They do not need to attack to be dangerous. Humans have a way of changing the rules without firing a shot. Remember what happened at the Rillian Fringe." Vea shivered slightly. The Rillian Fringe had been a border zone where several alien fleets had disappeared. No debris, no distress, signals, just silence. Only rumors remained, whispered across the galaxy like warnings. "Yes, Commander," she said, glancing at the stars. "The stories. They say humans are unstoppable once they decide something. Is it true?" Viel turned to face her, his eyes hard but thoughtful. "We don't know. We only know what we see, and what we see is enough to make even the bravest pause." Far away, deep in human space, Earth, the original homeworld of humanity, was quiet, almost deceptively calm. Cities glimmered beneath the planet's thin atmosphere, lights of every color painting the surface like a living mosaic. Humans moved through their lives with determination, with stubborn energy, with the kind of confidence only survival against impossible odds could teach. Wars of the past had shaped them, famine had tested them, and yet humanity had endured. They had risen from destruction time and time again, and the galaxy, in its infinite arrogance, had only just begun to notice. The first sightings of humans beyond their space were simple and unremarkable. A lone vessel here, a survey drone there, quietly charting, quietly building. But with each small step, stories began to form. Ships vanished in their wake. Entire fleets thought to be invincible disappeared. Outposts were overrun in ways that were precise, calculated, and frightening. No one fully understood how humans achieved so much so quickly. The galaxy only knew one thing: human space was not to be trifled with. Even as rumors grew, fear remained, cautious. No species had the courage to challenge humans directly. And yet curiosity was universal. Scholars debated in the halls of alien capitals. Merchants whispered in shadowed markets. Young soldiers imagined the humans in stories meant to frighten and to inspire. "They are strong," one scholar would say. "They are clever," another insisted. "They do not feel fear as we do," a merchant murmured. And all across the galaxy, a quiet truth settled. Humans were different. Commander Vale looked at the reports piling up on his desk. A human colony had been spotted on the edge of the Killen Expanse, a small, resource-rich sector far from Earth. The colony was new, barely established, yet it was thriving. The Andari scientists who studied the scans could not explain it. The colony had defenses, resource networks, and structures that seemed to anticipate every possible problem. Viel knew instinctively that this was no accident. Humans did not stumble into success. Humans created it brick by brick, star by star, and when necessary, they defended it with unyielding resolve. A soft alarm sounded, Sensors detected movement. Small ships approaching the border of human space. Vial stiffened. His fleet had orders to observe, to avoid confrontation, to report. But the presence of humans had changed everything. These were no longer just stories whispered in fear. The humans were real, and the galaxy was about to understand why no species dared enter their space. Vial inhaled slowly, his gaze sweeping across the endless black of the void. "Prepare the fleet," he said, his voice low but steady. "We will watch. We will learn. But remember this, all of you. Humanity is unlike any species we have faced. Caution is not just advised. It is necessary for survival." As the Andari fleet moved to position, the stars ahead seemed to shimmer differently, as if the void itself recognized the coming storm. And somewhere, deep in the heart of human space, humans went about their lives unaware of the fear their existence had already sown. They smiled, they argued, they worked, they laughed. They survived, they endured. And the galaxy slowly, nervously began to understand a simple truth that no story could fully convey. Humans were not to be underestimated. Not ever. The whisper of fear had become a chorus. The galaxy had been warned. And in the darkness of the void, the first tremors of awe and terror rippled across star systems. Humans were coming, and no one truly knew the limits of their power. The Andari fleet drifted near the edge of human space, tension thick enough to choke the air in the command room. Every officer was alert, every sensor was active, and every thought was shadowed by one question: what were humans capable of? Commander Vial's hands hovered over the controls, not touching, just waiting. Waiting to see what would happen first: the approach, the attack, or the unknown. A single human survey vessel appeared suddenly on their scanners. It was small, sleek, and almost fragile compared to the Andari warships. Yet, there was an unmistakable confidence in its movement, a calm precision that made even the most experienced Andari officers uneasy. Lieutenant Vea frowned. "Commander, it's moving directly toward us without hesitation." Vale's jaw tightened. "Maintain formation. Do not fire. Observe only." Deep down, he knew that this was no ordinary encounter. Humans did not stumble into fleets by accident. Every move had purpose, every step was calculated. And this vessel, this lone ship, was a message. As the human ship drew closer, a holographic projection shimmered above its hull. A figure appeared, human and unmistakable, wearing the insignia of a captain. Her eyes were steady, her expression calm, and her presence somehow larger than the small ship that carried her. "Greetings," she said, her voice calm but carrying authority. "We come in peace, but we are not weak. You are near human space. You have choices: stand aside, or risk consequences." The Andari crew froze. This was not a threat in the usual sense. There were no guns fired, no missiles launched, no aggressive maneuvers. Yet, the words carried weight heavier than any weapon. Commander Vial felt it in his chest, in his mind, in the quiet fear settling over his officers. This human, this single person, was declaring control without violence. Vial straightened in his chair. "Identify the vessel," he ordered, trying to sound calm. "Scan for weapons, scan for anomalies." Lieutenant Vea's eyes widened as the scans came in. No heavy weaponry, no fleet support, yet sensors indicate a network of systems and defenses we cannot fully interpret. It's different. Advanced beyond expectation. The human captain continued speaking. "We do not seek war. We chart and explore. We protect what we build. But if our space is threatened, we will respond with certainty. You have time to decide how to proceed. Time is a gift, and we offer it willingly." Her words echoed in the minds of the Andari officers. There was no arrogance, no cruelty, but there was power. Pure, unshakable power, disguised as calm speech. Commander Vial realized something that chilled him to the core. This was the first human the galaxy had truly met. And already, the humans had made the rules. The Andari fleet deliberated. Messages were sent to the council. Debates ignited in every ship. Could they challenge a single vessel? Could they risk entering human space without provoking something they did not understand? Every answer led to hesitation. Every hesitation led to doubt. Meanwhile, the human ship continued its work. Drones deployed quietly, mapping nearby asteroids, scanning planetary surfaces, and analyzing resources. There was no haste, no aggression, just steady, precise action. Every motion seemed purposeful, every decision calculated. The Andari fleet watched silently, unable to comprehend how a single human vessel could do so much so quickly. Hours passed. The human captain's ship had charted the area, collected data, and established small communication relays. Then, without warning, the vessel began to withdraw. It left no debris, no trace of attack, and no direct confrontation. Yet the message remained. Humans were here. Humans could act, and humans could control events without firing a single shot. Commander Vale exhaled, a mixture of relief and unease. They leave. For now. He turned to his crew. But remember this, on each ship is enough. One single human vessel has shown more capability than our fleet could ever hope to match. We cannot underestimate them. We cannot predict them. And we must respect them. Across the galaxy, news of this encounter spread like a wildfire. Alien scientists debated the human methods, military strategists recalculated their strategies, and politicians argued in endless sessions about how to approach this new reality. The humans had not fought, yet they had conquered minds. They had not destroyed, yet they had controlled outcomes. Fear and awe grew together, and with every story, humanity's reputation became something tangible, something to be reckoned with. Back on the human ship, the captain observed the Andari fleet from a distance. She smiled faintly. "They will learn," she said softly. "They will learn quickly. We do not seek war, but we will not be ignored." Her crew nodded, silently understanding what had been proven without a single drop of blood being shed. The Andari fleet eventually withdrew, returning to their own space with reports of caution, respect, and a deep, uneasy fear. Commander Vale recorded his log carefully. "The humans are unlike any species we have known. They move with confidence, precision, and clarity of purpose. They do not attack blindly. They do not threaten unnecessarily. Yet they have power. Power that no one can challenge lightly. The galaxy must understand. Human space is forbidden to those who underestimate it." As the Andari fleet disappeared into the void, the human captain turned her attention to the next unexplored sector. Humanity's reach was growing, silently but decisively. The galaxy had felt the first ripple of their presence, and soon, all species would learn why no one dared enter human space. And somewhere, in the quiet of space, a whisper spread. Humanity was not just another civilization. They were a force, patient, unstoppable, and unyielding. A species to be respected, a species that would shape the future of the galaxy. The first encounter was over, yet its impact would echo for generations. The galaxy had taken its first real measure of humanity, and it would never forget the lesson. The Andari fleet returned to their home systems in silence. Commander Vale's report was delivered formally, but the words felt inadequate. How could a fleet explain the unnerving presence of a single human ship that had moved with such calm precision? The council listened politely but privately. Fear took root. The story of humanity was no longer a rumor. It was becoming a warning. In the far reaches of the Zrin cluster, traders and travelers shared hushed whispers. "Have you heard?" One trader asked another in a crowded market hub. "The humans. A single ship mapped an entire sector and withdrew before we even knew what hit us. No attack, no warning. Yet every fleet that watched them came back shaken." "Impossible," another said, brushing a hand through silver feathers that sprouted from his head. "One ship alone cannot do what they claim." "Ah, but it did," the first trader said. I have friends in Andari space. They saw it. They spoke to the humans and they say, they are precise, calm, unstoppable. You cannot underestimate them. The story spread like wildfire. In every corner of the galaxy, from the massive floating cities of the Drelians to the silent libraries of the Xylar, scholars and leaders debated the new reality. They studied every known human action, every sighting, and every story collected by spies and traitors. It all pointed to one undeniable truth. Humans were unlike any species that had ever existed. It was not just their technology, though, that was impressive. Ships were fast, weapons were advanced, and colonies were defended with meticulous efficiency. It was not just their strategy, though that was cunning. Humans seemed to anticipate problems, to plan for outcomes before anyone else even knew what could happen. It was something deeper, something intangible, something alien to all other species. Humans had willpower. They had courage. They had determination so strong it could shape events before they unfolded. News reached the triumvirate of Xylar, a proud council of ancient civilizations. The council sent scouts, hoping to test the stories. Their fleet was enormous. Pulse, cannons, gravity disruptors, shields stronger than mountains. They moved into a sector near the outer edge of human space with confidence, expecting to assert authority over what they considered unclaimed territory. The scouts never returned. Days passed, then weeks. No distress calls, no debris, no explanation. Only silence. The council tried to send messages, but responses were indirect, calm, and unsettling. Humans did not need to attack to display dominance. They moved with certainty, and that was enough to terrify their observers. In Xylar's council chambers, Elder Zira slammed a clawed hand on the table. What do you mean we cannot locate them? They cannot hide a fleet from sensors that cover light years. A junior officer hesitated, voice trembling. They are not hiding. They simply outmaneuver us. They anticipate every move we make, and by the time we try to act, they are elsewhere. Or, the officer swallowed, the fleet is gone, dismantled, or captured without a trace. The council fell silent. The weight of fear hung over them like a storm. For the first time, a single species, not a weapon, not an army, not an alliance had made the galaxy pause. The stories were no longer whispers. They were fact. Even among the younger species, those who had not witnessed human capability firsthand, the reputation spread. Schools in the floating academies of Vornak taught cautionary tales about humans. Merchants used stories of human precision to frighten competitors into fair trade. Poets wrote legends of a species that could face impossible odds and emerge victorious, calm and undeterred. Humans became both myth and reality, a force that existed in every mind, shaping choices and decisions across star systems. In the Andari cluster, Commander Vile watched the news with a heavy heart. Every report confirmed what he already knew. Humans were extraordinary. They are not just strong, he said softly to Lieutenant Vea. They are relentless, intelligent, precise, and they are patient. That is what terrifies everyone more than their weapons. Vea nodded. They don't fight recklessly. They don't destroy without reason. And yet no one has ever fully survived a test of their will. They are unstoppable in ways we cannot predict. Meanwhile, humans continued their work, unaware of the growing fear they had instilled. Colonies expanded, survey ships charted new regions. Communication relays connected distant outposts. Everywhere humans went, they built, they learned, and they protected. And everywhere they went, alien species watched in awe and apprehension, learning that strength alone was not the measure of a civilization. Willpower, clarity, and unity were far more dangerous than the mightiest weapon. The whispers became warnings. The warnings became policy. Fleets were instructed to avoid human space. Traders were told to request permission before approaching. Scholars studied every fragment of human behavior. Even those who had never seen a human understood the growing truth. No species could hope to challenge humanity without consequence. Commander Vale recorded his log once more, voice grave. Humanity is not like other species. They do not seek conflict, but they do not bend. They do not strike blindly, but they do not hesitate. The galaxy may have believed it understood war, power, and strategy, but humans are beyond comprehension. Every fleet that has tested their boundaries has failed to return. Every story confirms one simple truth: humans are to be respected, and they are to be feared, not for what they take, but for what they will protect. From the edge of human space to the furthest reaches of the galaxy, fear, respect, and awe intertwined. Across millions of light years, the lesson became clear. Humanity was no ordinary species. They were extraordinary, and the galaxy had barely begun to grasp the magnitude of their power. For the first time, alien civilizations understood why no one dared enter human space, and they would spend generations trying to prepare for the inevitable consequences of crossing a species that did not know defeat. The rumor had grown into reality. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were a force of nature, and the galaxy would never forget it. The galaxy had learned to fear humans. Stories of vanished fleets, colonies that thrived overnight, and single ships capable of outmaneuvering entire armies had spread like wildfire. But fear alone could not explain the truth. Humans were not just strong. They were intelligent, precise, and patient. And soon, the galaxy would see that their power went beyond weapons or technology. It was the strength of their mind, their unity, and their will. At the edge of human space, a fleet from the Zrin Dominion cautiously approached a newly established human colony on the planet Yalara. Hundreds of warships armed with the latest pulse cannons and shields advanced slowly, careful not to provoke any immediate response. The Dominion Council had instructed them to test humanity, not to attack, just to measure the limits of their strength. Many officers felt excitement, others felt unease. Every starship captain knew the rumors of humans, but no one truly understood what they were about to face. Commander Lorca of the Dominion fleet scanned the colony from orbit. "Sensors indicate moderate defenses," she said. "Nothing that should threaten our ships. Proceed with standard protocols." Lieutenant Marrow shook his head. "Commander, I don't like this. The stories, they are not exaggerations. There is something about these humans, something we cannot measure." Lorca frowned. "We proceed carefully, Marrow. Observation only. No aggression." Meanwhile, on Yalara, the human colony continued its work. Civilian ships carried supplies. Engineers reinforced habitats. Scientists monitored energy readings from the planet's surface. And overseeing all of it was Captain Elena, a veteran of countless human missions, known for her calm composure and sharp intuition. She had already detected the approaching Dominion fleet and considered their intentions carefully. "They are testing us," she said quietly to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Harris. "Let them. We will respond only if necessary. They will learn as all must." The Dominion fleet sent a message, formal and precise. "We wish to observe your colony. Stand down your defenses. Allow peaceful inspection." Elena's response was calm, but every word carried weight. "We welcome observation, but understand this. Our space is ours to protect. If you approach with hostility, you will leave with regret. We do not seek war, but we will not hesitate to act." For a moment, silence filled the void. The Dominion commanders were not used to such responses. Most species issued threats, attempted bribes, or waited to see who would make the first move. Humans did not beg, did not threaten unnecessarily, and yet somehow made the presence of an entire fleet feel fragile. Days passed. The Dominion fleet lingered, sending small reconnaissance ships closer to the colony. Each time, humans responded, not with violence but with precision. Automated drones monitored the intruders' movements, tracking every maneuver and relay. Energy shields silently reinforced themselves at weak points. Communication relays projected human presence in ways the Dominion had never seen before. Each observation left the alien captains more unnerved. "We should retreat," whispered one officer. "They are too prepared, too fast." Too organized. Yes, another agreed. And they do not even fight. How can they control so much without a single shot? Elena observed everything calmly. She did not need to strike. Humans had learned that power could be shown without bloodshed. The Dominion fleet saw order, efficiency, and preparation, and realized the challenge was not optional. It was dangerous. Finally, Elena sent another message. You may continue your observation under the conditions we set. Respect our boundaries, and no harm will come to you. Violate them, and you will witness consequences you cannot imagine. The Dominion commanders hesitated. They had approached with curiosity, thinking humans were cautious, perhaps even limited. But now they understood the truth. Humans were patient, intelligent, and unyielding. They did not strike first, but they controlled the situation entirely. After careful deliberation, the Dominion fleet withdrew, leaving Yalara untouched. The colony continued to grow, unaware of the lasting impression it had left on an entire alien fleet. Stories of the peaceful human power began circulating, growing alongside tales of vanished fleets and precise victories. Back on Earth, or any other central human hub, the leaders and veterans of humanity did not boast. They simply prepared for the next challenge, knowing that the galaxy would continue to watch, test, and fear them. Humans had learned the most important lesson centuries ago. Strength alone was meaningless without strategy, patience, and will. Commander Vial of the Andari cluster, who had observed these events from a distance, recorded his reflections. Humans do not provoke. They do not threaten unnecessarily. And yet they dictate every encounter. Entire fleets approach and leave humbled. They teach without words, warn without anger, and demonstrate that power is more than weapons. It is control, unity, and intelligence. The galaxy began to adjust. Fleets were ordered to avoid human borders. Diplomats approached cautiously, choosing words carefully. Merchants sought permission before trade. Even the most aggressive species began to understand a simple, undeniable truth. Humanity's space was forbidden, not because humans were cruel, but because they had shown the galaxy that every action, every decision, every step was calculated, and crossing them would be a mistake no species could survive. For humans, the encounter was routine. Colonies expanded, exploration continued, trade agreements were signed with willing species, and knowledge was shared with those who asked respectfully. And all the while, humanity quietly built, prepared, and endured. They did not seek fear or intimidation, but they inspired it in others, not by cruelty but by certainty. And somewhere deep in the silence of space, alien fleets whispered to each other in fear and awe. Humans had shown the galaxy a lesson. They could be generous, patient, and fair, but they would never allow themselves to be taken lightly. And the galaxy slowly realized that no species could hope to test human space without understanding the consequences. Humanity did not need war to win respect. They simply lived, expanded, and protected what was theirs. And with every measured action, the galaxy learned another reason why no one dared enter human space. Arthon Prime was a jewel of the galaxy. Its skies shimmered with strange gases, its oceans glowed faintly under twin suns, and its mountains were rich with rare minerals. To most species, it was a prize. To the Drelians, a powerful but arrogant alien race, it was an opportunity. They saw human expansion as slow, cautious, and perhaps even vulnerable. The Council of Arthon Prime decided to mine the planet without permission, certain that humanity would not respond, or if they did, that it would be manageable. The Drelians' fleets approached, massive ships bristling with weapons, shielded in layers of energy barriers and armed with devastating cannons. They did not send messages of peace. They did not seek dialogue. They were confident, cocky, and certain that humans would be intimidated. They were wrong. On Arthon Prime, human engineers had been working for months, building sustainable colonies and automated defenses. They had sensors, communication arrays, and drones capable of rapid deployment. They had also learned from every encounter the galaxy had forced upon them. Humanity did not underestimate, and they did not make mistakes. Captain Elena, now a veteran of countless human missions, watched the incoming Drelians on the colony's main observation deck. Her eyes were calm, her expression unreadable, but her mind calculated every possibility. "They think they can take this planet without challenge," she said quietly to Lieutenant Harris. "They are wrong, but we will not strike first. Humanity does not attack without reason." The Drelians, landed extraction teams setting up machinery and beginning to mine the rare minerals. They assumed the humans would negotiate or retreat. Instead, automated drones surrounded the Drelians' equipment silently, scanning every ship, every weapon, every move. Defense turrets deployed silently, not firing, but ready. Human engineers moved efficiently, subtly reinforcing the colonies, defenses ensuring that every potential threat had a counter. A Drelian commander, arrogant and brash, sent a message. "Leave this planet. Your species is insignificant. Step aside or face destruction." Elena's response was steady and calm. "We do not seek war. We do not seek destruction. But Arthon Prime is ours to protect. Cease your actions, and you will leave unharmed. Do not, and you will face the consequences." The Drelians laughed. They had expected fear, hesitation, perhaps even surrender. None of it came. Then, with precision that no Drelian could anticipate, the human fleet arrived. Not in a chaotic rush, but in silent, deliberate formation. Ships emerged from behind asteroid fields, from cloaked positions, from unexpected trajectories. The Drelian sensors struggled to keep track of them all. The humans did not fire. They did not need to. Within hours, the Drelians' massive fleet had been neutralized, not destroyed but incapacitated. Energy fields were disrupted, weapons disabled, and communications jammed. Not a single human life was lost, and no colony structures were damaged. The Drelians had believed themselves powerful. They had not realized they were facing a species that could anticipate, adapt, and control outcomes flawlessly. The Drelian commander, shaken and desperate, attempted one last message. This is impossible. How did you—" Elena replied simply, her voice calm, unyielding, and full of authority. "You assumed weakness where none exists. You assumed fear where there is courage. You assumed chaos where there is order. This is not impossible. This is humanity." Faced with total incapacitation, the Drelians had no choice but to surrender. They retreated from Arthon Prime, leaving behind their machinery, their arrogance, and their pride. Humans captured a few ships for study, ensuring that the lesson would be remembered throughout the galaxy. Underestimate humanity at your peril. News of the Arthon Prime incident spread faster than any fleet could travel. Across countless star systems, species whispered in fear and awe. Humans did not destroy the Drelians. They did not massacre. They showed control, precision, and mercy. And that mercy made the lesson sting even more deeply. A species could be unbeatable not through cruelty, but through intelligence, preparation, and unwavering will. Commander Vielle of the Andari cluster read the reports with a mixture of awe and dread. They did not fire first. They did not attack. And yet, an entire fleet was rendered powerless, he said softly, staring at the holographic display of the planet. "This is unlike anything we have ever seen. This is beyond strategy. This is human will, and it is absolute." The galaxy began to understand something crucial. Humans were not to be feared for their weapons. They were to be feared for their determination, their unity, and their ability to control every outcome. Every fleet that tested them failed. Every species that doubted them paid a heavy price. On Arthon Prime, human engineers and civilians resumed their work calmly. Nothing had been lost. Lives were unharmed. The planet continued to thrive under human care. And yet, the Drelians would remember, as would every other species who heard the story, Humans were unstoppable in ways the galaxy could not fully comprehend. Elena addressed her crew quietly, her voice carrying pride without arrogance. We do not fight to destroy, we fight to protect. Every step we take, every colony we build, every challenge we face is a test of our will. Today the galaxy has learned another truth. They may fear us, but they will respect what they must. 3. Galaxy in turn began to adapt. Fleets were ordered to avoid human territory. Diplomats approached carefully, mindful of subtle threats. Stories of the Drelians' failure became legends, teaching every species the cost of underestimating humanity. And deep in the silence of space, across millions of light years, one truth became undeniable. Humanity was patient, relentless, and precise. They did not seek unnecessary war, but they would not be denied what was theirs. Arthon Prime had not just been defended, it had become a warning that echoed across the stars. No species dared enter human space without understanding the consequences. And humanity? They smiled quietly among the stars, continuing their work, expanding peacefully and quietly, shaping the galaxy in ways no one else could match. The Great Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Representatives from over 200 species filled the vast chamber, their voices hushed, their movements uneasy. The holographic displays around them still replayed the events of Arthon Prime, the human fleet's silent arrival, the effortless dismantling of the Drelian armada, and the calm words of Captain Elena. No one spoke at first. They all felt the same heavy truth pressing on their minds. Humanity was not just another rising species. Humanity was something different, something the galaxy had never faced before. Counselor Threx of the Zellari broke the silence. His scaled body trembled slightly as he spoke. They did not fire first. They did not slaughter. And yet, they won without loss, do you not see? This is more terrifying than brutality. This is control. Across the chamber, Counselor Varun of the Zeltori snarled, his long mandibles clicking in frustration. Perhaps it was chance. Perhaps the Drelians were careless. But the room shifted uncomfortably. Everyone knew that wasn't true. The Drelians were proud, but they were not fools. Their fleets were strong, their weapons advanced. Yet, against humanity, they had fallen apart as if children playing war. Counselor Myra of the Sarathi spoke next, her voice soft, but filled with unease. I have studied the humans. Every encounter shows the same pattern. They adapt faster than any known species. They are not bound by tradition, not limited by fear, not predictable. When they lose, they learn. When they win, they restrain themselves. Do you understand? They are evolving even as we watch. A shiver went through the chamber. It was true. Humanity did not cling to ancient methods the way most galactic species did. They did not fight the same war twice. Each battle was different, each defense unexpected. They learned, they grew, they reshaped their strategies until they could not be defeated. The High Speaker of the Council, a towering figure from the ancient Velori, raised a hand. His deep voice rumbled through the chamber. The question is not what humanity has done. The question is what they will do next. Already, no species dares enter their territory. Already their fleets grow larger, stronger, more precise. If they wish to conquer, who among us could stop them? The chamber fell silent again. No one had an answer. For centuries, the Galactic Council had managed disputes between species. Wars had been prevented, resources divided, treaties enforced. But never had there been a species like this, quiet, relentless, and utterly unshakable. Humanity did not seek conquest, but their strength made conquest unnecessary. Every system they claimed became untouchable. Every colony they built was permanent. Counselor Threx whispered, almost to himself, "It is as if the stars themselves bend to them. How do they always know the right move? How do they always prepare for what others do not see?" The Andari representative, Viel, finally spoke. His voice was calm, but there was an edge of dread. Because they are not like us. Most of our species and we grow comfortable, we repeat old ways. We seek stability. But humans? They were born in struggle. Their history is filled with wars, disasters, survival against impossible odds. To them, every challenge is a lesson. To them, every setback is fuel. You cannot break them, because they have already been broken 1,000 times before, and each time they rebuilt stronger. The chamber erupted in low murmurs. Every representative knew the stories of Earth, the world of storms and shifting climates, of endless wars and fragile peace, of fire and renewal. Humanity had risen from that harsh cradle, carrying its lessons into the stars. Counselor Varun tried again, desperation in his tone. We cannot simply fear them forever. They are only flesh and bone like the rest of us. They can bleed. They can die. But Counselor Myra's eyes glowed cold as she replied, yes, they bleed, but they always rise again. And that is what terrifies us. A silence followed, heavier than before. The truth was inescapable. Humanity did not need to conquer the galaxy. The galaxy was already yielding to them, step by step, colony by colony. Not through force, but through fear of what would happen if they resisted. High Speaker Valori finally declared, then we must make a choice. Do we treat them as allies or do we prepare for a war we cannot win? The council did not answer. None dared. Far away in human space, the people had no idea that the galaxy trembled at their name. On their colonies, children laughed, families built new homes, and workers shaped new futures. To them, life was progress, survival, and hope. They did not see themselves as monsters. They did not see themselves as feared. Yet in the grand halls of alien councils, humanity had become something greater than feared enemies. They had become a force of inevitability. In the weeks that followed, whispers spread across the stars. Smugglers avoided human borders. Fleets rerouted entire journeys to stay away from their systems. Entire species declared neutrality, unwilling to risk even the chance of conflict. The galaxy, for the first time in its long history, had found a species it would not test again. And so, one by one, the stars around human space grew silent of trespassers. Borders once questioned became untouchable. A vast region of the galaxy, still growing, still expanding, became known by a single warning passed from mouth to mouth, star to star. No species dares enter human space. And in time, the galaxy began to understand why. On the colony world of Haven's Reach, life was peaceful. Children ran through fields of golden grass, their laughter carrying across the valleys. Families worked together to build new homes, plant crops, and expand settlements. To the people living there, humanity's journey among the stars felt like a story of survival and hope. But in the far-off chambers of alien councils, humanity's name had become a shadow of fear. The humans did not know this at first. They only saw the silence of their borders. Merchant ships stopped coming. Explorers who once traded with them now avoided their systems. The galaxy seemed strangely quiet, as if the stars themselves were keeping a distance. Captain Elena, now a symbol among her people, noticed it during her patrols. Her fleet often traveled the edge of human territory, yet they encountered fewer and fewer alien vessels. No more smugglers, no more trespassers. Not even the bold traders who once dared to test their luck. One evening, as her ship drifted above the blue horizon of Haven's Reach, Elena stood by the viewport, her reflection staring back at her. Behind her, Commander Harris entered quietly. "They're afraid of us," Harris said, almost whispering. Elena turned. "Afraid? Or cautious?" Harris shook his head. "It's more than caution. I've spoken with the few alien traders still, willing to meet in secret. They say entire fleets reroute just to avoid us. They call our territory cursed space. They say, no species dares enter human space." The words hung heavy in the air. Elena looked back out at the stars. She remembered the battles, the struggles, the blood humanity had spilled just to survive. They had never sought conquest. They had only defended, endured, and risen stronger each time. Yet now, the galaxy feared them. Later, Elena met with the leaders of Haven's Reach. Farmers, engineers, teachers, and veterans gathered in the town hall. The room was filled with the quiet hum of worry. An old colonist named Mara spoke first. "Why do they treat us like monsters? We have done nothing but survive." Another, a young teacher, added, "The children ask why no alien friends visit anymore. They ask why the galaxy hides from us. What do we tell them? That we are dangerous?" The hall fell into silence. Elena stepped forward. Her voice was calm but carried a weight of sorrow. "We tell them the truth, that we are strong because we had no choice, that we endured because no one else would save us, that we fought because, if we hadn't, we would be dust scattered across forgotten worlds. But strength often frightens those who do not understand it." Mara's eyes softened, yet there was pain in her voice. "So we are alone now, strong but alone." The words struck deeply. Humanity had always reached for connection. They had sought friendship among the stars, hoping to find allies, companions, equals. But instead, their strength had become a wall between them and the galaxy. That night, Elena walked alone through the colony. She passed by homes lit with laughter, families gathered around meals, and children dreaming under the twin moons. Humanity was thriving. Their colonies were safe, their fleets unmatched. And yet, a quiet ache lingered. What good was survival if it left them isolated? What good was strength if it built only fear? Far beyond Haven's Reach, in hidden meetings and secret transmissions, some alien leaders debated. A few whispered that perhaps humanity was not evil, only misunderstood. Others warned that even a smile from such a species could hide a blade. The galaxy's heart was divided, but fear weighed heavier than hope. Back on Earth, scholars and philosophers began to notice the silence as well. Reports flowed in from every colony. No trespassers, no traitors, no foreign ships. Slowly, truth spread among humanity itself. At first, people celebrated. "We are safe," they said. "No one dares challenge us anymore." But soon the celebrations faded. Questions replaced cheers. Were they feared more than loved? Were they building a future of isolation? In classrooms, teachers hesitated when children asked about alien friends. In homes, parents spoke quietly about the emptiness of the stars, and so humanity faced a new conflict, not of weapons or fleets, but of the soul. They had survived war after war, but now they had to survive something different. The weight of being feared by all. Elena gathered her officers one evening aboard her flagship. She looked each of them in the eye. "We have built a shield so strong that no enemy dares to strike us," she said. "But now we must ask, have we built a wall so high that no friend can reach us?" No one answered. They only sat in silence, staring at the stars beyond the viewport. For the first time, humanity saw itself not as the survivor, but as the shadow others feared in the dark. And in that quiet realization, a question echoed across every world they had built. Were they becoming protectors of the stars, or the monsters of the galaxy? The galaxy's silence grew heavier with each passing year. Human ships patrolled their borders, but no trespassers came. Colonies thrived, yet no alien friends visited. The stars seemed distant, not because of space, but because of fear. In the great halls of the Orion Council, whispers spread. "Do not go near human worlds," the elders warned their young. "Their fleets are endless, their wrath is merciless. Enter their space and you will not return." But among the younger races, curiosity still burned. Why were humans feared? Were they demons in flesh or simply survivors? To answer this question, the council sent an emissary, a brave diplomat from the Aurelus species named Soren. He was chosen not because he was the strongest, but because he was the most stubborn seeker of truth. Against the warnings of his people, Soren prepared his small vessel and set course toward the forbidden borders of human space. As his ship crossed the invisible line that no alien dared cross, he felt his heart race. Every sensor scanned the darkness. He expected a human fleet to appear instantly, weapons raised. But nothing came. Instead, a calm voice entered his comms. Unidentified vessel, you have entered human territory. State your purpose. Soren swallowed. His fear. I am Soren of the Aurelius. I come not for war but for understanding. I wish to see humanity with my own eyes. There was a long silence. Soren wondered if they would destroy him for his boldness. Then, the voice returned. Very well. Follow the beacon. You will not be harmed. The beacon led him to Havens, Reach, a thriving human colony. From orbit he saw green fields, blue rivers, and cities filled with life. It was not the world of monsters he had imagined. It was a world of families. When Soren landed, a group awaited him. At their head stood Captain Elena, now older, her hair streaked with silver, but her presence strong as ever. You are brave, Elena said gently, greeting him with a soldier's bow. Few would dare step into our space. Soren looked around, in wonder. Why? Why does the galaxy fear you so much? What truth lies here? Elena's eyes darkened with memory. She led Soren through the colony. He saw children laughing, workers building, farmers planting. Nothing here spoke of terror. But then Elena guided him to a great hall, a memorial. Its walls were filled with names, millions of names. At the center stood a statue of a child holding the broken Earth flag. This, Elena said softly, is why the galaxy fears us. Soren stared. A memorial? To the dead? Elena nodded. Her voice was steady, but her eyes carried sorrow. Every name here was a life lost when the galaxy thought us weak. Every child, every mother, every city burned. We buried our dead in silence, and we rose again. Each time they tried to break us, we became stronger. And the galaxy watched but never helped. They left us to fight alone. Her voice hardened. Do you understand now? They do not fear our ships. They fear our will. No matter what is done, to us humanity does not break. That is why no species dares to enter human space. Soren's chest tightened. He finally understood. Humanity was not feared because they were cruel, but because they endured everything and still stood. The galaxy feared the strength born from endless suffering. Later that evening, Soren was invited to a gathering. He watched humans sing songs of old Earth, tell stories of sacrifice, and hold each other close. They were not monsters. They were a people who had turned grief into strength, pain into resilience. When Soren prepared to leave, Elena walked with him to his ship. What will you tell your people? She asked. Soren looked at her with respect. The truth, that humans are not monsters, that you are guardians born from fire. The galaxy should not fear you, they should honor you. Elena gave a sad smile. Perhaps. But fear is easier than understanding. Go, Soren, carry our story to the stars. And so he left. When Soren returned to the Orion Council, his words shook the chamber. He spoke not of dreadnoughts or endless armies, but of memorials, families, and the spirit of a people who refused to die. Some believed him, their hearts touched by the truth. Others still trembled, saying, a species that cannot be broken is a danger to us all. Yet slowly, whispers changed. Some alien races began sending envoys cautiously, carefully. They wanted to see for themselves. They wanted to understand. But even as small bridges of trust began to form, the galaxy still carried its fear. For, deep in their hearts they knew, if ever the stars turned against humanity again, if ever another war came, the humans would rise stronger than before, and the galaxy itself would tremble. On Haven's Reach, under the twin moons, children laughed and ran through the fields. Humanity lived, loved, and endured. Their borders remained quiet, their fleets watchful. The galaxy finally understood the truth. No species dare